She got in. Okay. Good. Hi. Whew, that was scary. YouTube is doing something really weird because it's like I tried to go live like a minute or two ago and it just was like, it's not available right now. And I'm like hell, it's not. Anyway. Hi, how are you guys doing? So this video is for educational and informational purposes only. The views and opinions stated herein are mine and mine alone. They do not represent the ACA, the APA, or any other therapist for that matter. Boom, shakalaka, done. I'd like to thank my sponsor, BetterHelp, BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. They're an online therapy company. They're international. There's 30,000 therapists working for them. Had great feedback from people. So thank you, BetterHelp.com/Chris Godinez. Whoo, jump back. All right. So today we are going to go over the Ninth Amendment, which you need to know because it affects us in our everyday living, especially if you're dealing with an abuser. And we are going to go over your privacy rights, things that I'm not quite sure that you are aware of. So, Ninth Amendment of the Bill of Rights. Here it is. The Ninth Amendment to the U.S. Constitution is part of the Bill of Rights and is intended to protect the rights not explicitly enumerated or laid out in the Constitution. It states that the enumeration of specific rights in the Constitution does not mean that other rights held by the people and generally accepted by the people are not also protected. Essentially, it recognizes that people have fundamental rights beyond those specifically listed in the first 8 amendments. Some of the founding fathers were concerned that listing specific rights might inadvertently suggest that those were the only rights that individuals possessed. They worried that this could lead to government infringing upon unenumerated rights that were not explicitly mentioned. And the Ninth Amendment was included to address this concern to ensure that the Bill of Rights was not interpreted as an exhaustive list of individual liberties. It acts as a safety net for unenumerated rights. The Ninth Amendment acknowledges that the people retain rights not explicitly listed in the Constitution. It is a check against potential government overreach and helps to ensure that individual liberties are not restricted to only those specifically listed out. Examples of unenumerated rights. While the Ninth Amendment doesn't list specific rights, it has been argued that it protects the rights like the right to privacy, which is what we're talking about today, the right to travel, the right to go to the foreign countries, the right to go outside of your state, the right to bodily autonomy, the right to vote, the right to marry who the heck you want. The Supreme Court has invoked the Ninth Amendment in cases related to unenumerated rights like the right to marital privacy and reproductive freedom. It is important to note that the interpretation and scope of unenumerated rights is still debated by legal scholars and judges because the Constitution is a living document. It changes as society changes. That's why the founding fathers put it in, because they were smart enough to know that somebody would try to say, oh, well, that's not listed, so we're going to take away your right. Right to privacy, hugely important. So let us now talk about that. So that's your Ninth Amendment. Next week, we're going over the 10th. All right. So your right to privacy. Hey, guys. So it has been definitely eroded over the last, 20, 30 years, probably. So with the advent of social media, when Facebook first came out, I remember, can't think of the guy's name, the guy who runs it, brain gone. Anyway, his whole thing was he didn't want anyone to have privacy. He didn't want anyone to be able to block or not allow people to see posts and things like that. And of course, very quickly, the danger of that became very apparent. You know, you've got stalkers, you've got high conflict divorce cases. Mark Zuckerberg, thank you. My brain just kind of goes, oh, evil corporate, person, don't want to think about him. So yes, Mark Zuckerberg. So he didn't want to have anybody to have any privacy. So there was no way to keep the general public from reading your posts, and there was no way to block people, and there was no way to do that. So obviously it became very apparent very quickly that it's a public danger, because if you've got a high conflict divorce, if you've got a stalker, if you've got crazy person, it happens to celebs all the time. So yeah, so our idea of privacy has really been eroded since the advent of social media. And I know I'm going to sound like one of those old people going, back in my day, Shani. But here's the thing, guys. Even without social media, it was a struggle to keep your stuff secret and private. It was. It's just easier now for hackers and people of ill intent to get to it. So privacy is a huge, huge deal. And I'm not quite sure that everyone understands how important that is. So let's talk about your privacy in regards to dealing with a crazy ex, because that's gonna happen. So crazy exes, dark triads, narcissist, psychopath, control freak, they love to violate your privacy all the time. You see them go on social media and do the smear campaign. They expect you to respond publicly. Do not listen to me now. Believe me now. You do not want to engage publicly or even privately with a dark triad. You're basically feeding the bear. You don't want to do that. You don't want to give them any, what's the word I'm looking for? Any excuse or anything that they can bring to the judge and go, oh, see, they're crazy, that kind of thing. Or they're an unfit parent or, whatever. So when you decide to leave, you must block them on everything. The only way that you should be talking to them would be written word only, our family wizard, seriously, or some platform where they can't erase it, they can't change it, they can't go, I never said that, gaslighting, hello, that kind of thing. And you need things in writing because the courts are not going to believe, well, he said, she said. They're not going to believe that. That's hearsay. So you need things in writing. If they text you, you print up that text, you keep it, you make sure you have it, especially if they're saying something stupid. So privacy is hugely important. Now, in that case, those exchanges can go before a judge. It's not a confidential communication. It's between two divorcing people. And yes, the judge has a right to see it if you choose to put that into evidence. Absolutely. So I think a lot of people don't understand what is protected and what is not. So HIPAA is hugely important. So HIPAA protects your medical records. Okay. That means your physical mental record, your physical records, your mental records. What I see a lot of dark triads do, remember, they want to win at all costs. They would rather burn down the entire system and rule over the ashes than to lose, which they don't understand. They've lost anyway. But existential, they don't get that. So the point being is that they think that they can gotcha by subpoenaing your mental health records. So what does that mean? This is why we need to cover this, because you need to know. Your confidential records, your records do not have to be released unless there's a subpoena. If there is a subpoena, your therapist has the right to contact the judge and say, you know what? I don't think this is a good idea. I really don't. It has no bearing. There's no abuse. There's no neglect. It has not, this person is a good parent, but this is their private thing and it would harm my client's right to private therapy. So how can you protect yourself? First of all, HIPAAs are there to protect you. You sign everything. So I know it's a pain in the ass. I know people don't like it. I know people are like, why do I have to sign all this paperwork? It's for your protection. It really is. It's more for your protection than for my protection. It really is for your protection. So it keeps your private stuff private. They can't just go to the doctor or go to the therapist and go, I need to know if you're so-and-so's therapist. I've had that happen. Oh, and I do love so when it does, because then I can quote, I'm sorry, I can neither confirm nor deny due to the HIPAA laws. And usually I don't get any further than I can neither confirm nor deny. And the other person blows up. I mean, like, boom. And they start screaming and yelling and swearing. And I'm like, you don't understand the HIPAA laws, do you? Because unless I have a signed release of information, I'm not going to tell you whether I am or whether I'm not. So sit and spin. Have fun with that. So they do that. They will try to do that. They will try to contact your therapist, your doctor even, and try to get medical records. And you, as soon as you know you're divorcing one of these jackwagons, you need to let your therapist and your doctors know in no uncertain terms. No one No one is to have any information. I mean, just to make double sure, no one is to have any information about me. I do not want you talking to anyone who claims to be my husband or my ex-husband or my wife or my ex-wife or whatever. They don't have a right to that. They have to have a written release of information to be able to talk to the therapist or the doctor. But they don't understand that. So they'll call me up and be like, well, I need to know. No, you don't. Where's your written release of information? Due to HIPAA, I can neither confirm nor deny. And then they get real abusive. And at that point, I just kind of go, and I'm writing everything down, And so then the next thing they'll do is they'll try threatening. I'll turn you into the board. Please do. Go for it, because you don't have a leg to stand on. And I will tell them that. You need a therapist who's got cojones. You know what I'm saying? You need somebody who's not going to be like, oh my God, they're yelling at me. Yeah, they're going to yell at you. They're crazy ass mother cluckers. You know what I'm saying? So you got to have a therapist that has dealt with these jackwagons. You need a lawyer that has dealt with these jackwagons, because what these jackwagons will do is go find an attorney who's just as disordered as they are, and they'll try to intimidate and, fear, obligation, guilt, the whole thing. And you need somebody who's going to hear that and just be like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, yeah, turn me into the board. For what? Not telling you, not breaking HIPAA laws? Yeah, they're not going to listen to that. Have fun. And of course, in my mind, and I'm like, and I will hit you with a harassment suit as soon as you do. Have fun with that. So yeah, they think that they know the law and they don't. And this is the beautiful thing about freaking abusers is for the most part, they're stupid. They think they know everything and they do not. So this is why it's good to have a therapist that knows the HIPAA laws, knows the laws, period, knows how to deal with somebody who is trying to do fear, obligation, guilt. Absolutely. And they will do that. And I see them flip through that. Well, it's hurting me and you're hurting the kids and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. I can neither confirm nor deny. Come back with a release and we can talk. If you don't have one, have a nice day. And by have a nice day, I mean, don't ever call me again. So, I mean, I don't say that part, but I'm thinking it. Anyway, so the point being is you need a therapist who understands that they don't just roll over and give out information. Now, here's something that a lot of people I don't think understand. When a client dies, say the client gets hit by a bus, you are still obligated to report or to protect that client's information. It does not just automatically get released. This is what drives me crazy when I watch TV shows and there's a murder and the police come in and they go talk to the therapist and the therapist is like, oh yeah, of course I was that person's. Yeah, let me tell you everything about them. I'm like, oh my God. Do the writers ever bother to look up facts? I don't know. So you cannot just start talking about somebody just because they're dead. Doesn't happen. They are still protected by the HIPAA. They are. Confidential information is protected indefinitely by signed HIPAA. Your phone conversations are protected. So they can't just grab a phone, start flipping through it, start reading chats or whatever, and then decide to try to use that against you or whatever. That is massively illegal. So anyway, there is that. So your HIPAA, what does HIPAA protect? I think you guys need to know this. So in other words, what an abuser will do is they will go and they will get their attorney to demand the mental health record. So let's talk about what HIPAA protects. It protects your name, your address, your birth date, social security number, details of your medical history, treatment, payment. It's confidential and it cannot be released without proper authorization. In other words, a written release of information specifically saying what is to be released. So in other words, if somebody hands me a release of information and it's not specific, if they're just like, oh, it covers everything, I'm going to check that with my client. Have a nice day. Because the client has to approve of what's released. They can say, yes, I will release the financial information, but I do not want any of my notes released, right? Or they can say, I want my notes released, but I don't want any of the financial information released. And then I will honor that. So yeah, you got to know what you're doing. Okay. All right. It encompasses any information that could potentially identify an individual's past, present, or future health and relates to their medical care and treatment. It protects hospitals, healthcare providers, insurance companies, et cetera. They're all having to sign all of this. If they protect you with that. Purpose of protection. The main goal is to safeguard patient privacy while allowing necessary information sharing to ensure patients receive quality healthcare. Okay. All right. That is it for that. Now, the other question I got was, can a healthcare provider go through a person's phone? No, they cannot. In order to go through a phone, they need written permission signed by the client, giving them permission to go through the phone. Anyone who does not have written permission and goes through the phone, they have stolen that phone and they are now subject to being, arrested for theft. So you need to know this stuff. So your personal property is your personal property. When somebody dies and they're in the hospital, their personal property is to be gathered up and put into a box or a bag or whatever, and then the next of kin is to be found. If they end up going through the contact list to try to find next of kin, that's one thing. But if they're going through texts, oh no, that's something that is so illegal. So, yeah, and generally they don't need to do that, because when you enter a hospital, you generally sign who's your next of kin, who do we contact. So there should be a contact on there anyway. So yeah, it's amazing to me the number of people that do not understand the law, period. Okay, so that covers that. All right. So here are the things you need to know going through a divorce. You want to limit the amount of information that your ex has available to them and their attorney. So you're going to limit your social media activity. Now, I'm not saying get rid of your social media. I'm saying you're going to limit it. So in other words, you're going to go through and you're going to get rid of any flying monkeys. You're going to get rid of anybody that could possibly run back to the ex and go, oh, well, they're dating or, whatever, because they'll try to use that too. I have seen in this day and age, I know, I'm just like, I have seen the ex, when they've been separated for like years, try to tell the judge that they're an unfit parent because they started dating. Nobody cares. Let me just reiterate that. Narcissists are into the story. Narcissists love the drama. Narcissists see the court as grand theater. And so they think in their crazy little heads that the judges care about things that have nothing to do with the court issue. Let me remind you, judges at any point in time have got over 800 cases sitting on their dockets. They don't care. What they want you to do is agree to something and get the hell out of their courtroom. That's really what they want. Ask any attorney, ask any judge. They will tell you that. So in the narcissist's head, in the abuser's head, though, they're going to shame you publicly. So that's why they want to go through your social media. That's why they want to try to get your medical records, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because they think that the judge will care as much as they do. Because remember, narcissists think that everybody thinks the way they do. Thank God we don't, but that's what they do. So that's why they're so hot to get to your social media, to get to your medical records, et cetera. So hold on. I want to get back to this. Limit your social media activity, as it can be viewed as evidence during divorce proceedings. So you want to be very careful about what you post. Secure your devices. Use strong passwords and consider two-factor identification on all your devices. And we're going to talk more about keystroke logging because they do that too. Protect your email. Use a secure private email account separate from any shared accounts. So what I have seen abusers do is they want a gotcha. So what they'll do is, if they have access to your phone, they'll put a keystroke logger on it, or your computer, they'll put a keystroke logger on it. They'll put location, where are you, kind of thing. I had a client that went to go open a bank account, and they did. And the next time they went, their ex showed up there. And then the ex very proudly said, "You don't think I know where you've been?" And I'm just like, "Did you get rid of your phone? Because you need to." So you cannot keep the phones or the computers that your ex has had any access to. They will do that if they are devious enough. And trust me, if they're antisocials, narcissistic, control freak, they are devious enough. This falls into the whole don't fall into the, "Oh, they would never." Yeah, they would. Yeah, they would. Listen, nothing shocks me anymore. I have literally seen it all. If it can be thought of, they will do it. Guarantee it. So let's talk about detecting the presence of a keystroke logger. All right. Okay. Yes, they can put key spyware on iPhones. So how do you know if a keylogger is installed? Your phone is using an excessive amount of data, even when you are not actively using it. This could be because of hidden tools are running in the background and processing data from the internet. Your phone freezes up a lot because keystroke software reads apps. It can cause them to run poorly or get hung up. The battery gets hot even when you are not using your phone. The reason for this is the keystroke logger is running in the background, taxing your battery. You can hear background noise while using the phone. So ways to prevent this is you can use two-factor authentication. Okay, whenever a hacker who has stolen your credentials via keylogger tries to log in and use an account with two-factor, you will get a notification through the second authentication method, such as passcode sent to your phone, for example. So you'll know, hey, if it wasn't you, somebody else is using it. So how to remove spyware from iOS. After detecting a keylogger on your phone, you'll want to remove this kind of spyware, which essentially executes a phishing strategy without ever engaging you. Phishing is used to steal login credentials and to install malicious software such as Agent Tesla, which is a keylogger that attacks Windows machines. To get rid of spyware, you should first change your login details. This can prevent somebody with your login information from getting into accounts that have the same details. How do you detect a keylogger on Android? Check your device's performances and behaviors for the same telltale sign. Signs that there is a keylogger, battery drain, phone is hot, strange text messages, phone is turning on and off, performance is slow. So yeah, this is where did I get this from? This was Fortinet .com, Fortinet.com. And it's how to detect the presence of a keylogger on your phone. My advice, get rid of the phone. Just get rid of the phone, because that says to me that they've got the ability, or they've had the ability to put spyware on your phone. Who knows how long it's been on there? Just get rid of the phone, get a new phone number, the whole thing, and get rid of your computer, get a new computer. Not everything can be removed. So, and it can be very difficult to uninstall malware. So you've got to be very careful about that. All right. So what are they hoping to do? Well, they want to spy on you. They want to know what you're doing. They want to know where you are. They want to know where you moved to. They want to know your bank account. They want to know everything, because again, control freak, remember, antisocial, crazy psychopath, narcissistic control freak. They want to know everything. They want to know if you've opened a new bank account. They want to know, everything. So you don't want that. They want to go through chats. They want to try to use whatever they can against you. So you've got to be very careful of that. Now, getting back to the therapist talk, can they subpoena records? Yeah, they absolutely can. This is why you want a therapist that understands narcissistic abuse. Okay. You want somebody who gets it, that, yeah, they're going to get subpoenaed. They're absolutely going to get subpoenaed. And it drives me crazy when I hear therapists say, I don't do court. Well, how nice for you. If you're subpoenaed, you're going to have to. So if you're a therapist, learn the laws of your state. If you get subpoenaed, you cannot ignore that subpoena. You have to respond to it, either by saying, no, this is harmful to my client. I don't think this is a good idea. I mean, if you really, really, really want me to, I will. But I do think this is the antithesis of what a therapeutic relationship should be. And I've had to say that. And sometimes the judge will understand and go, nope, this is stupid. We're not going to do this. And then sometimes they're like, nah, we need to see it. So when I do my notes, and this is what you need to talk to your therapist about. When I do my notes, I keep them short. like really short, like just 3 or 4 lines. But what I do make sure to put in there is anything that is going on with the ex that is causing anxiety, depression, PTSD, CPTSD, et cetera, in my client. And every time I do that, I can guarantee you the opposing attorney does not like that. So there are ways, we have ways, to mitigate the BS of the court system. So yeah, you absolutely, you keep your notes short. You really do. It's like, what are you talking about? What's causing the distress? What are the interventions? Boom, done. And then literally the opposing attorney then has nothing, like nothing. So, and that's what you want. That's really what you want. And when they tell me, well, I'm going to call you in and you're going to testify, and I will tell them, I am not an expert witness because I'm not a PhD. I'm master's level. So what I can testify to is exactly what's in my notes. So you will be paying me $800, $1,000 a day to verify what's in my notes. And if you've got a good attorney, they're going to make that other attorney pay for the therapist's day, because I mean, it takes me away from my clients. I can't make money if I'm in a court. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, there is that. So subpoenas are a writ ordering a person to attend, or they're ordering information to be given. And you cannot just ignore that. You must respond to it. You must, either release the information or you must explain why you're not going to. So you can never, ever, 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 ever ignore a subpoena. So there is that. Hi, madam. Oops, wandered in, wandered out. All right. So, okay. So getting back to protecting yourself. So you're going to change all of your passwords, every single one. Change them all. Get one of those password holders, like I don't know, 1Pass or things like that will generate hugely long passwords, but it remembers it all for you. So you don't have to be like, what was that password again? I don't remember. So you want to change all of your passwords. You want to make sure they have no access to your phone, your computer, etc. Same with the kids. If they've got tablets, they cannot be trusted either. The other thing that I've seen happen is they will put malware on there that will turn on the camera or turn on the audio so that they can listen in. So if I have a client in the old days when I had my office, because now I just do telehealth, but in the old days, if I had a client come into the office, I'd make them put their phone out in the other room in a drawer, because you're not listening on this session. No, thank you. You're not a part of this. So anyway, there is that. Just be aware, because they will put it on the kids' stuff. And the nice thing is, if you have proof of that, judges don't look kindly on that. Let me just put that out there. So yeah, if you can get proof of that, that's a good thing. But yeah, they will put it on the kids' stuff. They will put it on the kids' phone, the tablet, etc. So you want to be very, very careful of that. All right, change all your passwords. Disabling notifications. Turn off message previews and notifications on lock screens to prevent unauthorized access to your communications. Stop cloud syncing. Disabling syncing personal information or documents to shared devices or cloud services. Review linked devices. Make sure that you're unlinked from them. Utilize alternative dispute resolution, mediation, and collaborative divorce. These processes are often confidential and can help keep your divorce case out of the public record, which is good. Confidentiality agreements can be part of a settlement agreement to prevent both parties from disclosing information about the divorce to others. That might be something to think about. Change your passwords. Be mindful of financial information. Be cautious about disclosing it. Use a PO box to get your stuff. I have had crazy stalker exes swing by their ex's house and steal their mail out of the mailbox in front of the house. So I strongly recommend getting a PO box, and it's just it's not foolproof, but it's safer. So that's what I would do. Keep documents secure. Store important documents securely, especially if they are sensitive or contain private information. Be aware of public records. Monitor court filings. Divorce proceedings generate legal documents that become part of the public record. Seek confidentiality. You can ask the court to seal certain documents or part of the file, but this is not always granted. It's kind of up to the judge. Manage media attention. Be discreet. If you or your spouse are public figures, be mindful of how you manage media attention, confidentiality agreements, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So your privacy is hugely important. And no, your ex does not have a right to just march in and demand it, nor do they have the right necessarily to subpoena your records. I mean, they can subpoena it, but the therapist can use their discretion and talk to the judge and be like, yeah, this is not a good idea. Or if they go ahead and go, yeah, no, I want you to, I'm going to honor the subpoena. Okay. And then you make sure tiny so that it doesn't say anything that they can use. So that's it. So there is that. It is so important to know your privacy rights. It is so important because so many of our rights are being eroded, and privacy has been being eroded for the last 30 years. So you definitely want to lock down your social media, block anybody who's a flying monkey, block the ex. No, they don't have a right to your social media. Well, we've got kids together. Yeah, you don't need my social media, buddy. Bye. Get our family wizard, do all communication through our family wizard. They cannot delete that. They cannot deny it. They can't change it, which I've seen them try to do. So yeah, do something where it's written and they cannot deny it. That's what you want. Yeah. And if somebody, a lot of con artists are out there. So one of the scams is calling people up saying that they owe money for missing jury duty. That's not the way it works. They're not going to call you. So yeah, just be aware. There's a lot of scams regarding your privacy, your social security, your, the whole thing. So common sense, logic, and critical thinking is definitely needed in this time and age. So anyway, there is that. Okay. I think I am ready to take questions. Let's see what we got. Do we have anything? Okay. Apparently there are no questions. So I wanted to talk a little bit about Mary Brownlee. She is a friend of mine. She is an LPC. She has got a channel for survivors of abuse as well. So look for Mary Brownlee on YouTube. She is phenomenal. I love her to death. Let's see. What else can I tell you? Privacy is huge. Privacy is really important. It is not a minor thing because people can use your information to pretend to be you and get you into a lot of trouble. I've seen abusers take their kids' social security and open up credit cards and then put that kid into financial debt like you would not believe. And that kid's on the hook for it. So, you definitely want to guard all of that. You're going to want to keep looking at your credit report and the kid's credit report. Because like I said, I've seen abusers take out loans, open up credit cards, et cetera, in their ex's name, because they have their social security. So anyway, that's what you got to watch out for. This is why privacy is so important. You want to make sure that you're guarded and your kids are guarded because a crazy ex, an abusive ex, a stalker ex is going to do all of these things to try to get as much information on you as they possibly can to use against you in court or to try to take the kids away or to try to open up loans and credit cards and things like that. So anyway, I think that is it. Unless we have anything. Do we have anything? Bueller, nothing. Okay. So next week, I want to talk about staying in the moment. I want to talk about dissociation. So many of us with the traumas that we have been through dissociate. And if we're being hit by traumas, nationwide, family-wide, whatever, we dissociate and we kind of get kicked out of the moment, and that's not good. So I want to talk about staying in the moment, mindfulness, We're going to talk about dissociation. We're going to talk about why we do it and how we can help ourselves stay in the moment, all that sort of good stuff. So anyway, that is it. You guys go have a great Sunday, and I will talk to you next week about staying in the moment. And we will talk about the 10th Amendment. All right, you guys, take care, be good, drink plenty of water, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.